Do you want an encore? I could just take a break. Wonderful. Someone ate my bulletin, so I don't know. I think I'm supposed to preach now. Oh, I got it. Thanks. I don't know what happened to it. Anyway, it was right here. It's fine. So we're continuing in our series on the solas. We're calling it Goin Solo. We're talking about solo meaning alone, only. In this case, only. And we're talking about what are these onlys that the Reformation was focusing on. We started out last week. We were talking about the Protestant Reformation, kind of introducing this important period in church history, especially for us, right? Especially for anyone who comes from who's part of the, Presbyterian churches, Baptist churches, Lutheran churches. We're all part of this thing called the Reformation, where there was a reform movement. It started out as a reform movement within the Catholic Church, the Roman Catholic Church, but our forefathers kind of got the boot, and so ended up starting their own churches, and that's kind of how a lot of us came to be here. We're talking about these important themes that came out of the period of the Reformation, and we started off with what I think is the most important one last week, Sola Scriptura, Christ alone, and about how when it comes to salvation, it's all about Jesus. It's not about church, it's not even about us and what we can do, but it's all about Jesus. And today we're going to be looking at another one of those solas. I'll put them up here again just so we can remember. So there's sola gratia, grace alone; sola fide, faith alone; sola Christus, Christ alone; soli Deo gloria, glory of God alone; and sola Scriptura, Scripture alone. And today we're going to be looking at Scripture alone. By the way, if you memorize these, you'll sound really cool. You get into a church discussion with somebody and say, well, I believe in Sola Scriptura. They're like, what's that? Oh, he's smart. He spoke Latin. Well, it just means the Bible, just the Bible. But anyway, well, to introduce this theme, I've got a movie clip, and unfortunately, Toby and I didn't get a chance to talk about this, but it's on YouTube. So the first tab on YouTube, when you bounce out of here and bounce in there. Okay, let me introduce it before you hit play. So this is really getting us on the theme of Sola Scriptura, Scripture alone. And this is a movie, it's a 2003 film called Luther. And it's a great movie if you can get a copy of it and watch it if you haven't ever seen it. It really gives a mostly accurate depiction of of Luther's life and what he went through. The only difference is Luther ended up being a really fat guy. He ate a lot, and he got really huge by the end of his life, but this guy always stays skinny, because he's an actor. Anyway, this is pretty accurate because it starts out when Luther's young, and so this is a very important meeting. It's actually a trial. Luther was put on trial after he started talking about all this stuff about, I don't believe in the church, and I believe in the Bible alone, I believe in God alone. He got called in and put on the witness stand, basically, and he was on trial for his life. Basically, depending on how he answered in his trial, he was being asked to confess that he wrote his books and to deny what he wrote, and basically say, I don't believe in this stuff anymore. And if he could deny what he wrote, then he could get off with it, he'd get his wrist slapped, and he'd do his whatever 100 laps and Hail Marys, and he'd be free. But if he said the wrong thing, he would probably end up dead, burned at the stake. And so this is the moment. Are you going to tell the truth, or are you going to save your skin, right? And so we're going to watch how Luther dealt with this. This is the courtroom scene. Luther has been given 24 hours to think it over. He spent the whole night in prayer, fasting, really focusing on what am I going to say here when I come in front of the emperor and these representatives of the Pope and everything like that. So we're going to see what happens. Go ahead.
Martin Luther, are you the author of these writings?
I am.
Do you recant what you've written here?